Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with me today we have Elizabeth Makepeace. She is on a mission to empower people to raise their vibrations so they are guided by their own intuition and live a fulfilled life. And she helps women who doubt themselves to listen to their intuition and follow their dreams. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth. It's really great to have you here.
It's great to be here, Jill. Thanks very much.
So, tell us how you got started on this journey.
The journey of coaching or the journey of life?
Well, you were born, so that eliminates that part.
Yeah.
So on your journey for becoming a coach.
Yeah, it wasn't something I was expecting actually. I was doing essential oils, and I've always had that mission to support people in some way or another. I was a massage therapist for 25 years, did energy work, had done 7 years of past life regression training and was sort of dabbling in that, but had let that go. And I was looking to start working more with the essential oils. And I went into a coaching program and got a onboarding call with the woman, and she's like, what did you do before? And asking these questions. And when I was telling her what I was doing before, she's like, oh my God, why aren't you doing that? You know, so many people need regression work and, you know, the type of energy work that I was doing. And it sort of was born from there. And it just fell into place, you know, and I love supporting women to really understand and shine their light and start taking ownership for their space in the world, you know.
And so how do you do that?
First thing is just to remind them that they're powerful, you know. So many of us just need that remembering, because we've all got a place here. We've all got the opportunity to, you know, change and shift and become more than what we are. And so the way I work is through a process called recoding. And I work with women to release the old patterns, you know, that inner child, that little girl that feels like she's unworthy, feels like she's broken in some way, seeking validation outside of herself to be accepted. And we shift that through the source of where it came from. So that could be that it's through genetics. It could be a long lineage of women, you know, through their and men all the way through to, you know, 6, 7 generations past, or it could be past lives. So it could be through, you know, being burned at the stake. So many women have got that experience of not being allowed to speak their truth or scared because of victimization of some sort. And we still hold that trauma, right, in our bodies. So past lives, generational, or conditioning from our childhood and the world, you know. So there's what we do is we future project. What is it you're becoming? What is it that you're wanting to share with the world, and what's your destiny? And we use alchemy to support ourselves to move into that space and release anything that's getting in the way, that's holding us back in resistance.
I have a couple of pathways I want to hit on here. So, do you think that we always come back as one gender or another?
From
Or
what
there's-
I from what I know, or I've experienced, and is that we have blocks of genders. So we come back as a woman for, I don't know, hundreds of years, maybe,
Mhm,
hundreds of times, I'm not sure. And then we decide we're going to transition into, a man, and so there's this phase in between where we're moving from one gender to another gender.
mhm.
And that's where you get these mixes of, uh, you know, people that are not sure, and all the different experiences that are on the planet at the moment, and have been forever, just that they're being openly talked about now. So as you transfer from being a male for many lives into a female, there's this transition phase as you go through and move into the next gender.
That's
So
interesting.
that's how I
Uh,
see it. Yeah.
and that would make a lot of sense. I've done some past life um, work on myself, and I have experiences, I have memories of a couple of experiences in past lives, and one of them is as a male,
Mm.
but the other couple are as a female. Um, and I, what you're saying makes perfect sense to me. Because we'll
Yeah.
just leave it that with that. Um,
Yeah.
and then I forgot where I was going with the other question because I really wanted to ask you that one. So, so you work with people in terms of helping them kind of pull in all of the category or all of the information that they've they're bringing with them, and they bring it with them into their bodies as well as into their just their spirit, the
Mm.
spirit being like the essence of who you are in when you're coming into each life. Do you believe in, or I hate to say do you believe in, but do you think that people figure out what they do? You believe in life contracts, I guess, put it that way?
Yeah, I do. And I don't have a lot of my journey's been very different to many, because when I woke up spiritually, it wasn't something I was expecting. It wasn't because I was wanting it. I actually went to a psychic because a lady that I knew kept on hassling me to go to this woman. You'll get to speak to your dad. My dad died when I was 15. You get to speak to your dad, she's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I really didn't believe in psychics at the time. I thought they were charlatans, all the things. So when I went in and my dad, touched me on the cheek, and I had the experience of spirit, for 3 days, I had these things touching me, and, I had to ring her back up and say, what's going on? And so I spiritually woke up, and then went on this journey by myself because she wouldn't let me go back. I was like, can I come back? And she's like, no. So here I was by myself, didn't know anything. And I've read books since, but not a lot. So a lot of the information that I've got is through my own experience. And so I define contracts maybe very differently to what the definition is, and we all have our own definition of things and make up our own meaning. So to me, a contract is something that, a meeting or a decision that we've made. It's a choice that we've made. I don't see it as something as hard and fast. And that's one of the things that we do when we do recoding is we clear any contracts that we may have, because it's a it's hard to describe in the way I'm here experiencing it. It's a decision that we've made to hold a promise, I suppose is the best way to put it. And so if that promise is not in alignment with who we are, or it's somehow affecting us and limiting our opportunities, then we can make a different choice. We're not stuck in the one hard and fast rule, and I believe that that's the case with pretty much everything. One of the things that we do in recoding is we clear anything so that we're the predominant creator in our life. Now, the reason I say predominant is because we live in a world where the government tells us what to do, and there are rules and regulations we've got to adhere to. You've got to drive on the road a certain way and all those things. And so we're co-creating with other people. So predominant is important because this co-creation is an opportunity for, a container to keep us forming or creating in a certain way. In the process of that, though, we've got choice, right? So we can choose to follow blindly, or we can look at a situation and what's going on and make a conscious choice to either follow the rules because that works out for us, and that's the container we want to be in, or not follow the rules and do something else, right? And so if we're either way, we've got consequences. And so it's taking those consequences and recognizing them, that they're our consequences because we made the decision, not because the decision was made outside of our opportunity, our control.
And consequences sometimes are thought of only in the negative, but a consequence is merely something that happens as a result of something else. That's by definition what a consequence
Absolutely.
is. And so no matter what choices we make or decisions we make in life, there's always a consequence attached to it by virtue of the fact that something has been decided, therefore something will happen or some experience
Absolutely.
will evolve.
Mm.
So what I think I hear you saying is that in life or prior to an incarnation, we're having an idea about how we think we want to have this experience, but we're not locked into it. But
Yes.
yeah.
But and absolutely, and this is the dichotomy of life, right? Because as you say that, I think about, my dad passing at 15.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting because he was on a kidney machine and, for pretty much my whole life. And though I say, I spiritually woke up, I was in my early, mid-20s at the time. I used to lay next to him while he was on the machine, and like every so often I'd just cry, I don't want you to die. And he'd say, I'm not going to die, blah, blah, blah. Well, at 15, he passed. And I knew when, like, they came I was at school and someone walked in, didn't even look at me, walked to the teacher, started talking. I just started packing my bag. And when she came over, we walked outside and she turned around. And I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" I just knew.
Mhm.
Now, I grew up in, you know, a non-religious family, but my auntie was a Christian. I had, in those days, back I was born in 71, so it was like grew up, it was either heaven or hell, right? That's where he's going. But I had this feeling he was in a library somewhere and that he had died for me. And so I didn't understand that process. And yet now in hindsight, I recognize that, yes, that we had some form of contract, the two souls, myself and my dad. And uh, it was, I'm going to, we're going to have this amazing relationship because he was pretty much the only one that looked after me. And, we had a very strong bond. We're going to have this amazing relationship. And then when it's time for you to really start recognizing who you are, I'm going to leave so that you can do that. So I feel like there was some sort of contract. And that was the start of me going, well, what's out there? You know, what is this place? How big is it? Where do you go? All the things, right? I started questioning. And so, uh, you know, that was a contract, I believe, that we had both agreed to. Now, how I dealt with that contract is the part that, you can play with a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So, and I didn't deal with it very well to start with. I went off the rails for about 10 years actually, afterwards recognizing it was me, grieving my father. But yeah, it wasn't an easy process. But there's contracts that you both agree to, and it's part of your destiny in a way. Yeah.
I think do you think that people um stick around with the same group over and over, or do you think they branch out, and do you think we come back and meet new souls, I guess?
I'm going to say yes because my higher self is saying yes. I think it's a bit of both. I think that we sit in, soul groups, and that's that recognition that we have of people, or the deja vu, all of those sort of, synchronistic things that sort of happen. Oh, I know you from somewhere, like that sort
Mhm.
of experience. And I also think that there would be the opportunity to meet new people, explore new realms, opportunities, expansion. Um, just logically, my head goes, if there's all these pods and no one gets the chance to intermingle, then it feels like there'd be stuck energy, like there'd
Mhm.
be growth, but then where does that go to?
How do you feel about different geographic locations? Like, do you think people come in different places, or do you think that it's all primarily
Yeah,
one?
yeah, I think we pick different destinations. I don't know about you or your listeners, but I know that I've had past lives of being in India, in Egypt, um, uh, you know, a location in New York. So I do feel that there's different areas. And again, what I'm getting is that we also have the choice to keep coming back into the one location too, if that's what our soul needs. So depending on what our lesson or our mission or our experience wants to be, like that's dependent on the location and how that location is going to offer the best experience.
Interesting. I as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about, different things that I've also experienced. And it's like, yeah, okay, that tracks. That tracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like having a conversation with three or four people, but it's only the two
Yeah,
of us sitting here.
yeah, absolutely. So you've had past life experiences that you remember?
I do. I have one that's really, really um vivid for me, and that's going off a cliff. It's about death. In fact, two of them are death scenes, but one is going off a cliff on a horse. It's in England, and we fall to our deaths, the horse and I. Um, I wonder if it comes back and is afraid of heights also.
Yeah.
But, we plunged to our death on the rocks where the ocean is coming in. And I am unusually afraid of unprotected heights. Like it doesn't bother me to be in an airplane, totally
Mm,
fine. But I cannot go onto like the second or third story of a balcony. Sometimes you have apartments that have those, you walk up the stairs and then there's a balcony. I,
yeah.
I just can't do it. I get physically ill. Like I want to throw up. And
Mm,
going over some bridges are like that because they sometimes tilt the bridges when you're driving over them, and I feel
yeah.
like I'm just going to fall off. um it's just the weirdest thing to me.
So that's what recoding does,
Mhm.
because those experiences are now within your DNA,
Mhm.
right? These are energy moments. I call them illumination points,
Mhm.
and they stick in your system until they're dissolved, until they're that point. It's sort of like an acupuncture, experience. You get a needle and you put it in and it dissolves that block.
Mhm.
So recoding is like that. We go to the source, to that past life,
Mhm.
and we shift it out of the way, or so that you're still had the experience, right? It's the experience isn't the thing that is holding you back. It's how you dealt with the experience. So we release that memory of the trauma so that you keep the wisdom, but it's not affecting you in the way that it is stopping you from experiencing yourself now.
Mhm. Even if you don't really feel like you it took me years. I mean, I'm 64, and it took me like up until a couple of years ago to realize, oh, this is why I have this reaction. So for all of these years, I mean, this has been since I was really little.
Mm,
Like I can remember when I was 5 or 6, and I was in a high-rise apartment building at a friend's house, and it had a wall-to-ceiling glass window, and they were really high up. You could not pay me enough to get near that window. It's just
yeah.
like, and I was too young to really understand why I would have these feelings, but I've just always had them. So it's not like you're cognitively thinking about this is why I have this physical reaction. Um, does does your
It's
reprogramming really work with that kind of trauma?
mm,
I mean,
mm, yeah.
unrecognized trauma, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I love about recoding, because, when you say you go to a psychologist, for example, and I feel that these things are going to start shifting as consciousness changes. You go to a psychologist and, you're paying for 5 or 6 sessions just to establish where you're at, tell your story, so that the psychologist sees patterns and recognizes who you are and all of those things, right? What happens when you're telling a story is, one, you've got to know the story, right? So that one's one that you don't know the story. And two, as you're telling the story, you then are rewiring the trauma in your nervous system. So the very nature of telling the story means you're rewiring it into your nervous system and reliving it.
Mm-hmm.
What recoding does is, because epigenetics is the study of these things, right, where we're holding trauma in our body that may have been from past generations, 6, 7 generations past. They don't know if it's really, I'm just thinking now, they don't know that it could be, also past lives. They don't work on that level, but there may be a trauma that they're associating with generations, but it could be from past life. When we're recoding, we're looking at what it is that you want to choose instead. So, for example, you might say, I want to feel comfortable and safe and easily walk onto a balcony with no issues, right? So we bring that into your reality. So we decide to become that now and imagine that, because your unconscious doesn't know the difference between a vision and reality. So we visualize it, but then we look at what's coming up right now that's holding you back from that, right? And so it's not going into the past. It's just going, well, right now that scares the crap out of me. And so when we recode, because recoding is going into the field, like the quantum field where all the codes are in the first place, that code that went, that's a trauma, we can then just neutralize it. It's sort of like, you've got a cancer cell and now they're seeing that they can switch it off, right? The gene can be switched off. Similar to that is you go in that code and you switch that off so that it is now neutralized in your system. And you're like, where is the trauma? I can walk up and I can look out that window. I can step on that balcony with no issues whatsoever. I've had a client, so at in my consultancy, so I work as an intuitive consultant at certain levels, and one of my clients just recently, her dad passed away. In one of her business mentoring courses, there's a guy that actually, he was the first guy, because she found out while she was on a course, and he was the first guy that she saw, and he actually reminds her very much of her dad. So ever since, she has a traumatic experience with this guy. Whenever she sees him, she just wants to start crying. And so when she told me, we decided to, do something about it. We did a recode, and she rang me up the other day and said, by the way, just spoke to him on the phone and it was neutral, had no reaction, was able to talk to him properly and have a decent conversation. So you can neutralize the trauma, the impact, the experience, and still have the experience, but at a different level and a different way, like, so that you're releasing the trauma.
Interesting. I can see how that would be really impactful. So it sounds in some ways, like you use the recoding to overcome and recalibrate kind of the way that we approach life. And also in the process, do you help people move into the life that they believe that they want to live
Mm.
and calling in like the people that they want to have in their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the main purpose of it is most therapies or most modalities these days, or for however long, have been neutralizing, or for example, mindset work, NLP, all of those things,
Mhm.
hypnosis. What we're doing is this is a problem, let's clear it. This is a problem, let's clear it, right? So the
You open up
challenge with
space
that,
for more problems to come in.
absolutely, right? That's the challenge, because what happens is where, this massive pool of information that every single experience that we've had, we've made a decision, and generally it's one to survive and that we're not safe. So we get caught up into this place of I'm broken, right? And so this constant thing of having to fix ourselves. But also, as we're doing that, we're also now reiterating to our unconscious that we are broken. So just as you do feel like, oh my gosh, I'm on top of that and I feel like I've worked it out, the unconscious goes, well, actually, let's create something more because that's the pattern we're in now. So with recoding, it's linked in with alchemy, so that we're actually looking at what do we want to create. So we're focused forward, we're focused in the now moment, and we're focused on creation rather than problem solving. So
Which is
someone
really all
comes,
manifesting is.
yeah, absolutely. So it's being able to use manifesting by, this is what I want to create. This is me becoming it now, right? Because there's only the now moment. Then we look at we bring structure in. We go, okay, what's getting in the way at the moment in your current reality? So X, Y, and Z, I don't feel, good enough. This has happened. I've got a belief system that I can't do that because X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. And so we look at what the structure is within our current reality that's getting in the way. And then we clear that stuff. And that's what's so beautiful about recoding, is because it's collapse in time. When we're just manifesting, we're going, this is what I want to create, and I'm just going to keep thinking about it until it works, right? Whereas this process is clears the stuff that's getting in the way so that you can then just take the action and move towards it. When you live in this space, magic starts becoming part of your life. And, you just said, bring the right people into your life. Um, I've had many experiences with this, from, my business tripling in income. I've moved to a beautiful beach location. I've uh, been through some trauma with I had a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor that cleared, and I breathed through. It was an unbelievable experience. No, yes, I had it, but the things that happened were unbelievable. But then here I am, healer of 25 years. My maiden name was Pain, and I go to the beach and I'm the only one on the beach, and this guy walks past, waves at me, we start talking. His last name's Makepeace, right? Like, so from pain to make peace. And these things become part of your everyday life when you're in creation mode, like when the things that happen in my life are just so extraordinary to other people, and I forget how amazing they are. I've only just started going, oh my gosh, I've got to start getting this stuff out. 3 shooting stars. I decided I was going to tell people about energy and how it flows. I follow energy threads, right?
Mhm.
And the day before, I decided, oh, I'm going to call it Follow the White Rabbit. The next morning, wake up in the kitchen, look out the window, and there's this huge hare in the middle of the road, right? Like, and I live at the beach in a suburb, it was huge. So these little coincidences or synchronicities happen when you're totally in flow with the way the universe works.
Yes. And I think being aware, I've had experiences like this too, from like
Mm.
a a a hawk that was messing with my hair the day I embraced sobriety, almost a year ago now. Um, but it was just like you just have encounters with things that are very unusual in very unusual ways. They're just messages, the universe winking at
Absolutely.
you and saying,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
I love your story from pain to make peace. I knew that there had to be a story in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
nobody, I was going to ask you if you'd made that up, but yours, your actual story is so much better.
It's crazy because when I met him on the beach, um, we realized that we were both on the same dating app and we'd swiped each other left. And so we were chatting away and, what do you do when you meet someone? Like I went home and somehow found him on, or maybe he friended me or something. And I looked on Facebook and I went, because he wasn't a spiritual guy, right? Like, who makes their surname up as Makepeace? Like, why do you do that? Because some people change their names on Facebook.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I asked him, I said, why'd you make your name to Makepeace? And he said, it's not made up. I grew up with that name. Like, never heard it before. And I've worked in medical records at a hospital. I was like, I can't believe that your last name's Makepeace and I'm a healer. Like, it's just crazy, right?
Is perfect though. I think
Yeah.
when we get out of the way, the universe is perfect and
Oh, absolutely.
magnificent things just like happen. But I think
Mm.
people as humans, we decide that we're gonna like make things be the way that we want them and get all wrapped
Well,
up in the results.
yeah. And that's sort of part of what recoding is about as well, because when we're choosing what we want to create, we're often coming from a place of trying
Mhm.
and we're coming from a place of lack. So, people might want health because they're sick or want love because they're lonely or, and, I want money because I've got no money or whatever it might be. And so when we're coming from a place of lack, we've now got all this distortion in the field because your vibration's saying, I don't have this, but I want it. And so now you've got your current reality and you've got these other two vibrations. And so they're negating each other. When you're creating, you really want to create from what I call a true choice. So a choice to have something just because you want it, just to go for it for no other reason. And so just go, this is what I want because this is what I want. And so then you've got this beautiful field. You go from your current reality into this desired end result. And it's if you're just in that pure energy with no resistance, it's this flow that you just go through, you're just flowing in this vibration. And it's really the only thing that's stopping you from having it right now is that we live in a world where there's time and space. So,
Mhm.
like the universe has got to put all the particles together for you to sort of get that and manifest that.
Because everything exists and nothing exists all at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So, how do you work with people one on one, I'd imagine?
At my higher end, I work one-on-one. So as I said, I work as an intuitive consultant uh, in my golden program. So people get to work with me one-on-one. Um, what I do normally is group coaching. So I've got a few different programs, things from self-paced all the way to group interaction, modules, and then we have a group training, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and that's my biggest course is Conscious Creator Circle, and that's where we do the recoding and really create what it is that we want to experience in life.
That's that sounds really amazing. How do people get in touch with you if they want to do something like that?
Through Facebook or my website. So on Facebook, my name is Elizabeth Eleanor, and Eleanor is spelled a little bit unusually. It's Elenor. So you'll be able to find me quite easily. I'm pretty much the only one, unless someone's trying to pretend to be me, which I've noticed every so often. Um, but yeah, on Facebook or just through hello@elizabetheleanor.com, which is the email address, or just through my website.
And we'll make sure that we put the address in the show notes. Also, you offer a couple of value pieces, the love code and then the land of plenty meditation. I just love the name of that.
Yeah. So the love code is specifically for people that are looking to attract their divine partner, someone that hears my story and goes, I want more of that, which I've found a lot of people really want to meet the love of their life. And so the love code is that specifically, whereas the land of plenty is the opportunity is sort of like a shamanic journey, and it is going into a space of being able to create whatever you want. So it's looking at who do you really want to become, and seeing what's up, the opportunities that are in your field. So it's connecting in to that higher part of yourself and being able to listen and see what's available.
I'm gonna have to go and do that when we get done here. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sounds like
yeah,
such a fun time.
yeah,
Um,
it is.
Meditations can take you places that you never expected to go, which is
Mm.
makes them so interesting to me. So this has been an amazing conversation, Elizabeth. I really appreciate you joining me today. What is the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from our conversation today?
The one thing that I would say is the most important thing is to recognize how powerful we are, and that intention is extremely important. So, one, we've got choice, but when you set an intention, it's like sending out a little beacon in the universe to manifest that. So, when you have an intention, then you're allowing that frequency to shift the universe and your whole world. So just set intentions. When you've got something going on that isn't an experience that you want to experience, change your mind, set a new intention, and make a choice. This is what I want to experience instead. And watch your whole world change.
I love that. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me.
Take care. Thanks so much, Jill.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.